I don't know that anyone could have imagined that Israel would have engaged in this level of destruction and immiseration and bombing churches and bombing hospitals and blowing up universities and destroying the infrastructure. I mean, it's almost beyond belief.
So one thing that when I was talking to Hassan, and I'm just going to talk about.
Cuts him off, bro. Ethan's such a disgusting little gremlin.
It is not anti-Semitism. It is not. It just isn't.
Like, taking one example in isolation, which is what we've done here.
Well, you're the one who gave it to me.
Yeah, well,
I don't even want to talk about it,
I disagree
but I'm
with you.
using your example, and in that instance, that is not anti-Semitism.
Well, I
this
disagree.
Conflation. Okay, well, that's our disagreement.
Yeah.
But I think that conflation is incredibly dangerous.
Well, I disagree as well.
It's dangerous for Jews.
I think
it's dangerous for this society.
Like, Ethan's basically being like, okay, well, if you're discriminating against an entire religious group of people, what would you call that? And it's like, okay, so you're saying that Hassan's discriminating against an entire group of conservative Jews, conservative Christians, and conservative non-Christians that are just like pro-American imperialism. So he's discriminating against all of these different groups of people. You can't really call that anti-Semitism at that point.
Frankly, I think it's dangerous to what I perceive as hand-waving what is happening here. I know you said you aren't doing that.
I'm not hand-waving.
You're doing the opposite. You're endorsing
decades of thought about this.
So, right, sure. But the point is, you're saying that this is not dangerous. How dare you care about this? I think it's dangerous to.
Bro, Ethan actually can't understand what Sam's saying. Like, he keeps trying to agree with him or summarize his position so that he can move on to the next thing. But he actually has no idea what Sam's talking about.
I personally, I mean, Jewish people have a collective memory of trauma, Sam, and it starts a certain way. And it starts with dehumanizing language, like saying you're not fit to walk a dog. I mean, what are we doing here? It's irresponsible language.
He's not talking about Jews.
He's talking about 73% of Jewish people.
Bro, it's actually crazy to say that 73% of American Jews support Israel as an ethno-state and support their expansion, which is what Ethan's trying to do right now. Like, it's so gross. And I mean, he said to Hassan like a year ago, who are you to talk about my entire group, my entire ethnic group? Who the f are you to talk about your entire ethnic group? You don't know. Bro, you're like, well, you can't criticize me because if you criticize me, my position is the same as all Jews, and so if you criticize me, then you're being anti-Semitic. It's crazy.
Oh, that's a poll that's readily available.
No, you made that connection. He did not, because we have millions upon millions of members of Kufi. We have millions upon millions in this country of evangelicals who also believe the same thing.
Does your dad have?
You cannot say it's anti-Semitism.
Could you describe?
You cannot say it's anti-Semitism if you're also including millions upon millions, far more Christians than Jews.
Would you say that your father, who you mentioned, said something to you that he's ever in his life had?
It was his father's friend. He didn't say his father said something to him. It was his father's friend. Yeah, Sam, are you anti-Semitic? And Sam's like, what are you talking about? You know I'm a practicing Jew. Like, why would I be anti-Semitic? Oh, yeah, it's because he criticized Israel. A lot of Zionists are trying to define Jewishness as support for the state of Israel, and if you speak out publicly against its actions, you get excommunicated. That's a sad reality, and Ethan is perpetuating this fact. I mean, he had someone in his chat calling Sam a capo. How do you get more accused of being a fake Jew than being called a capo? It's like Ethan will use Jewishness and then he'll discard people's Jewishness when it doesn't suit his purposes. Attributing Jewishness to someone when you need to and stripping away Jewishness from someone when it doesn't suit your purposes. There's not like a much better definition of anti-Semitism than that.
Positive feelings about the state of Israel?
I've had positive feelings of Israel.
Well, does your dad have any positive feelings about it now?
I would assume so.
Not in terms of like I support them, but I think
positive feelings. I went to Israel on.
Okay, good. Then you're a neo-Nazi, not fit to walk a dog. How do you feel about that?
No, that's you saying that.
That's literally what he said. I'll play it again.
Regardless of your background, any kind of Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a rabid neo-Nazi. You shouldn't even let someone be the local dog catcher, as Felix was posting, if they've ever exhibited any sort of.
There is something to be said about that. Like when Ethan says you're not even fit to walk a dog, that's what he means as dehumanizing. Hassan really said you're not fit to be the local dog catcher. That is a position in society. You should not be part of society. He's not saying you're dehumanized and you can't even do basic human functions. Ethan Klein changes it from the local dog catcher to you're not fit to walk a dog. But that one word change that Ethan does turns it from getting ostracized from society to being dehumanized.
Listen, I don't think they're neo-Nazis not fit to walk dogs, either. I think it's insane language.
Listen, you don't want to tell me that you have never engaged in hyperbole. You and I both are in this business, and we do that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
If Ethan wanted to present the summation of Hassan's points, why is he hyperfixating on the wording that Hassan chose, right? Ethan's like, no, he literally said at any point during your life, if you express positive feelings towards Israel, you're not fit to be a dog walker. When Sam Seder points out, well, that's probably hyperbole, and I agree with the sentiment of Hassan's statement, Ethan's like, well, no, it's actually a summation of his work. Ethan wants to have it both ways. He wants to say, off of this hyper-specific wording of a 30-second clip, that means Hassan is bad. But also, it's a summation of his entire content that he's put out there. Well, if it's a summation of the entire content, then the wording is irrelevant. Correct, Ethan? Because Sam points out that, yeah, he did hyperbole, but I understand his core message. And then Ethan's like, well, actually, you need to focus on the pedantic verbiage of that sentence that Hassan said.
I just think that,
it's listen. You can say it's an inappropriate thing to say. It's an unfair thing to say.
I just think like Arabs that support Israel aren't fit.
Ethan's favorite thing. I'm gonna do some kind of bigotry, but ironically, Hassan says basically, if you're fascist, you shouldn't exist in society. And Ethan's like, if any Arabs have exhibited positive feelings towards Israel, then they're not fit to walk a dog.
It's an unfair thing to say.
I just think like Arabs that support Israel aren't fit to walk a dog.
He's so flustered right now. He's trying to mirror what Hassan said, but he doesn't even get it correct. This is like when Ethan wrote, when he made a video, and I'm forgetting what the content of the context of the video was, but at the end of the video, he's like, we always need to try to keep the plight of the Palestinians at the top of our minds. But my question to you is, Hassan, why can't you do the same? It's like, why can't Hassan worry about the plight of Palestinians? He doesn't know what he's saying. He just has emotions, and then he tries to, they bubble up, and he tries to express them, but he doesn't do a good job. He can't form coherent thoughts. And so he's like, let me try to hold a mirror up to this in a way that I can insult Arabs in the same way that I feel insulted by Hassan talking about Zionists.
It is not anti-Semitism.
Okay, well, we're at an impasse on this one.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean...
Sam saying anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, and you saying that's your impasse? That's the entire thing, you dumb... Oh, we're at an impasse. We agree on 95% of things, but Sam doesn't seem to think that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. He's actually a capo because he must be a self-hating Jew.
But anyway, another thing he does is he says Zionist tendencies, and he's someone that plays around with Zionism.
You just said you're going to agree to disagree. You're at an impasse. Why would you bring it up immediately? He's so stupid. Well, I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree. However, he also says anti-Zionist tendencies. Is Zionism versus Zionist tendencies a different thing, Sam? What the are you talking about? You just finished talking about this point.
But he's saying Zionist tendencies. What does that mean? What's a Zionist tendency?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're going to talk to him on Friday. You can ask him what a Zionist tendency is. And I don't know what he was thinking specifically, but whatever in the name of Zionism allows for this mass slaughter, I think is horrific.
Sure, me too.
I mean, once again, Ethan does justify this. He does say, oh, this is to blame for this. He literally will argue with Sam that is to blame for this. He does so much propaganda that justifies this. He says controls the media to get pity for themselves. Nutty.
I mean, Hassan pretty much openly supports Hamas.
Let's not talk about Hassan. Let's talk about this.
Sure. What do you want?
Bro, actually, what the is wrong with Ethan? Why can he not? It's like some kind of soothing place that he can get back to. Where he's like, well, now we can talk about Hassan, and I'm in my happy place, and I feel elated where I can just on Hassan all day. And then in his fantasy land, him and Sam Seder are gonna team up and shit on Hassan. Then, but Sam Seder's like, I don't give a about Hassan. Let's talk about what you think.
Well, how do you feel about?
I feel that people can perceive it as a liberation organization. We call them terrorists in this country. We call the ANC terrorists.
What do you think about them, Sam?
Listen, I think there are parts, I would imagine, of that have done good for the people in Gaza, and I think they have done bad things. But I sort of feel, I guess, ultimately probably like Ehud Barak. He said that were I Palestinian and I was living in Gaza, that it would be likely that I would join. I mean, that's what Ehud Barak said on multiple occasions. And I think that is an understanding of human nature.
That you're not affording Israelis, by the way, just to point out an inconsistency there.
Yeah, because Israelis have options. They don't have to join the military.
How so?
Well, you're not. You're like, I refuse to understand human nature and their reaction. It's just evil, and I don't know how to explain it.
I didn't use the word evil. I don't know what Gazans felt on October 8th, but I can tell you that we have there is a long history of terrorist organizations or so-called terrorist organizations like the ANC or the IRA. Even the PLO,
now, Sam,
that ultimately become a political organization.
I think the comparison to what happened in South Africa is insanely disingenuous. And I personally hate when people do that.
I mean, Mandela didn't think so.
Well, Mandela did think so. He explicitly stated that he avoided committing violence on the citizenry because it would make reunification impossible.
The Nelson Mandela Foundation, ANC, killed mostly civilians, the O'Malley archives, literally just the #1 source. Despite these noble intentions, the majority of casualties of MK operations were civilians. A total of 71 people died in such attacks between 1976 and 1984. Of these, 52 were civilians and 19 were security force members. Nelson Mandela said, "We are not going to use violence unless violence is our only course of action." And violence is their only course of action. They tried diplomacy. They tried peaceful demonstrations. They've tried diplomacy even after October 7th, and they still have no recourse other than, okay, we're just going to fight until we die. The reason that South Africa ended apartheid is because the United States shifted its support from pro-apartheid to anti-apartheid. That's not the same in this scenario, because the United States has been staunchly pro-Israel the entire time. But they were having success politically, they were having success diplomatically by getting other countries to go against South Africa and to go against the apartheid regime, and that is not an option that's not an option that Palestine has to them. And Nelson Mandela himself said, if we didn't have any other options, we would become more violent.
Nelson Mandela's party, if someone killed a civilian, they would hold them accountable. They would charge them. They would disavow their actions.
The ANC did.
Yes.
I mean, once again, that's not true. In some cases, it's true. But once again, it depends on the civilian that they killed. We can take a look at this article. This commission that we just read, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, identified some of the targets that the ANC regarded as legitimate or as civilians. So when Ethan Klein says, no, they disavowed the killing of civilians, they disavowed the killing of some civilians, but not all of them. Once again, he's just trying to whitewash this and be like, oh, well, doesn't do that, so they're a unique evil that can't be compared to any other groups.
The IRA was bombing places in England and throughout Ireland. I mean, we have even the Irgun or the Stern Gang when they killed, over 100 villagers in 1948. I mean, the history is full of examples of organizations that commit terrorist acts. Now, I will tell you,
people look at South Africa.
I do not condone the killing of civilians, which is why, obviously, I'm upset about what Israel is doing.
Sure. The part that I don't like about people say, I feel like people sweep for by saying, like, what do you expect, right? But the truth is that people use South Africa as an example. You don't need to commit a violent war against civilians to liberate yourself.
Well, I mean, listen, we had for a year, we had the Great March of Return, where, you know, Sinwar himself was involved in that. There was Palestinians marching on a regular basis over the course of the year. I don't know how many it was, 50 or whatever, that were innocent people who went there, and snipers are shooting down unarmed civilians. And so, you know, time and time again, and over the course of the 20 years that I've been professionally, you know, covering this, my attitude towards Israel's willingness to have peace has changed, and my understanding of it has changed. And I can only imagine how more intense that feeling is to be living in a place that is, you know, functionally like the Warsaw Ghetto, insofar as, like, you don't have access to resources, you have 50% unemployment, the apartheid that is taking place in terms of the West Bank. I mean,
I agree with those characterizations, by the way, Sam. Just to say,
okay, but I can't imagine that my response wouldn't be to pick up a weapon.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
It's not really working out.
Oh, it's not really working out? Well, yeah. When you have the most powerful military in the world backing up Israel, picking up a rock isn't going to really change your circumstances that much. He can empathize with the person in Israel who feels jaded and wants to do it, even though they're not the same things whatsoever. And if you are an Israeli, you should understand that actually my actions and joining a military to kill these people is what's causing violence to come out of that area back upon me. Maybe I shouldn't do that. You have the option to not fight. So they're not the same at all. Like, the Israeli has all of the agency in this situation, and Ethan can empathize with them, and he feels like they're just a small being getting whipped around in the wind, but he can't empathize with the Palestinian who just got their entire family blown up in front of them, and now wants to pick up a gun and fight against Israel. Ethan can't empathize with them. Like, at some point, it stops being double standards and it just becomes racism. Even when Sam's like, yeah, I empathize with them and I understand why they might pick up a gun and fight against Israel, he says, well, it's not working out. Yeah, it's not working out because of people like you, dude.
None of it's working out, is it? I mean,
not much at all. Not really much at all.
What is called the greatest attack on Israelis in 75 years. The notion of Zionism and the way that Israel is organized as a society is not protecting Jews.
Well,
it's not protecting Israelis. It's not protecting Jews worldwide. It is, there may have been a time where there was a notion of a multi-ethnic democracy that fell by the wayside. And what it has evolved into is, I think, a nightmare for everyone involved. I don't know how I would react in that type of immiseration, frankly.
Well, can I ask you?
But again, Ehud Barak said that he would pick up a weapon were he one of them, and
that's fine.
He's far closer to the conflict than I am.
I'm not saying I don't understand why people pick up weapons, right? So let me ask you this: what do you think about October 7th attack?
What do I think about it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was horrific.
Mm-hmm. And this was like a military action to what end?
I don't know what the strategy was. I mean, they attacked 2 military bases. I don't know if they were aware of the dance.
The Nova rave.
Yeah, I don't know if they knew that rave was happening. I suspect it was to derail the Abraham Accords, which were going to leave the Palestinians out of the equation, where an authoritarian
you leave
monarch
out that they
state.
attacked kibbutzim, by the way.
No, yes, of course they did.
You're actually doing pro propaganda, Sam Seder.
I don't know what the strategy was on their
okay,
part.
so what do you think, would you expect the response of Israel would be to that?
I had no doubt on that day that Israel was going to respond.
Go insane. Yeah, right. It was going to be horrific. We all knew.
Guys, you have to understand what Ethan's doing here. When he says we all knew that Israel was going to do this, the response was going to be this far. What he's doing is he's trying to take the blame off of Israel. He's trying to have Israel just be one domino in the entire chain reaction. And he's actually trying to put the entire blame of this and the agency of this on and the Palestinians in Gaza.
The lack of proportionality was just beyond, frankly, and I was aware that this was going to be a horror show, but I don't think I had the level of awareness of what they would do to go in and literally level it, destroy what is it, 80-90% of the structures in Palestine, bomb hospitals, that they would use.
Well, did know that because that's why they attacked.
Dude, so in the past, when has taken hostages, the Israeli government has actually shown a willingness to negotiate with them to get the hostages back. Now, it's not foolproof, and they do bomb a lot of the buildings kind of with reckless disregard for Palestinian life and even their own hostages. Like, of course, they don't care about Palestinian life. Bombing is the point. Ending Palestinian life is the point of bombing. However, there's usually some pushback from foreign superpowers like the United States or the UK or anyone else that supports Israel. In this case, they happen to have someone who truly believed in Zionism, like Joe Biden. Ironically, a perfect example of how fighting against Zionism isn't anti-Semitic, because Joe Biden is a Catholic Zionist, and he was the president of the United States, and he just gave Israel a blank check to do whatever they wanted. That's why this has gone on for so long. It has nothing to do with the proportionality of, the October 7th attacks were so bad that of course they were going to get. No, it's everything to do with Joe Biden. Like, you can put this squarely at the feet of Joe Biden, because Israel's always going to be this. They've always wanted to ethnically cleanse Gaza and the West Bank of Palestinians and colonize those areas. They've been doing it forever. They've been doing it since their existence.
I'm more interested in the justification for what they're doing.
Probably took hostages with the idea that they would be able to negotiate.
I understand why they took hostages. I don't understand why they took children and elderly.
I understand why they took hostages. I don't understand why they took hostages. So stupid. Like what are you doing, dude? They're hostages. Like, either take hostages or don't take hostages. What the are we talking about? Like, are you trying to say it would have been acceptable if they took adult military-aged males? Yeah, this guy's such a loser.
They probably, I'm this is all conjecture on my part, that they would be able to trade them as a way to inhibit Israel's doing what they're doing. And I don't know if they could have even imagined that. I'm not going to endorse his strategy here.
Well, I'm just trying to flesh it out here, because this is what I'm getting to is
Israel's completely blameless in this. It's actually all his fault. That's what I'm getting to.
I think they knew that this was the reaction that would happen.
Sure.
I can't imagine that they assumed that there would be this level of destruction.
That's why they hate Israel. I don't think they underestimate how violent Israel.
They hate Israel. They did October 7th because they foresaw their anime characters that have future sight. They have the Sharingan, and they were able to foresee the moves of Israel. And they're like, if we do this, then Israel will do us. That's why we hate them. That's why we will do this thing. Insane, like just brain dead circular logic that Ethan said. He literally said, that's why they hate Israel. They hate Israel because they know that Israel is going to them so hard, but that is what made them do October 7th, which led to the, which makes them hate Israel, which makes them do October 7th, which led to the.
I mean, that's why they hate Israel. I don't think they underestimate how violent the IDF can be. You know what I mean? That's why they attacked.
I certainly underestimated that.
So Ethan's like, the IDF is so violent, knows that, and they hate Israel because they're violent, but that's why they attacked, because the IDF is so violent that makes them hate Israel, which made them do the attack, which made the IDF violent. But once again, like insane circular reasoning. The reason they attacked is because they don't have any rights, because they were in an open-air prison. It's very simple, Ethan.
They would go this far, use...
I didn't think they'd go this far, but...
Bomb hospitals.
Like, and the only reason Ethan's playing dumb about the reason why October 7th happened is because he wants to blame for the they're experiencing. Like, if you say attacked for any reason other than to trigger a... that gives agency to Israel. But if you say attacked Israel to trigger, then Israel's just doing the inevitable response. Israel's just the falling domino that tipped over.
Shoot EMTs and, have rules of engagement like this. I mean, and, I think certainly up to criticism for their strategy here.
If I think that's an understatement.
Well, I mean, if that's well,
I mean, they're a terrorist organization that intentionally antagonized like the IDF to come mass slaughter their civilians.
It's fault. It's Hamas's fault. Go off, King. Go off, Ethan.
If they overestimated whether Israel cared about the hostages, without a doubt. I mean, there's I don't know that there would be anybody who would make a case that...
Sam's about to laugh because he realizes how much of a freak Ethan Klein is. Ethan Klein is literally saying, no, they goaded Israel into massacring them. And Sam's like, well, I think they overestimated the amount of care that Israel would have in getting the hostages back and doing deals with. But no, Israel's just like, oh, you killed 1,200 people and you have... what was it, like 200 hostages? I don't care. Let's just do the equivalent of a nuclear bomb on Gaza. Let's just do the equivalent of a nuclear bomb on Gaza and ethnically cleanse the entire area.
Was their plan have Israel respond in this way? That's absurd.
Well, and the same is true of I guess Israelis feel the same way. Like it was totally unprecedented.
It's so difficult following a conversation with Ethan because Sam gets done responding to Ethan's point. Ethan says, okay, yeah, I agree. And then he just goes off on a completely different point, acting like it has anything to do with what Sam just got done talking about. He doesn't actually follow along a conversation at all. That's why his first question after this call was to his sycophant, Dan, and saying, did I get owned in the conversation? That's literally the first thing that he asked. He's like a fighter where there's so much adrenaline and he can't understand whether he won or lost the round.
I don't know that there would be anybody who would make a case that this is what was their plan have Israel respond in this way. That's absurd.
Well, and the same is true of I guess Israelis feel the same way. It was totally unprecedented. You know what happened. So
what? Let's just, I just need to break this down really quick. Sam said no one in would have expected the absurd response from Israel, which is, right? Kills 1,200 Israelis. Israel kills hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. That's absurd on any level, just on its face. Even if this is the most evil people in the world and they're completely... and they have their fingers on a big red button which could launch a nuke at the entire world at any point. On its face, it's absurd to respond to 1,200 deaths with hundreds of thousands of deaths and a complete medieval-style siege cutting off food, water, electricity, medical supplies to everyone in the area, civilians included. That's an absurd response on its face. And Ethan hears what Sam says. I don't know if he hears. Maybe he's just looking at his computer and he's getting texts from his wife or his producers or whatever trying to send him studies to help him in this debate. And Ethan says, yes, you're right. And a lot of Israelis feel that way too because the October 7th attacks were so unprecedented. That has literally nothing to do with what Sam just got done saying. Is Ethan really trying to say that since October 7th was an unprecedented scale of death and destruction in Israel, then Israel has a right to do a... Is that actually what Ethan's trying to say here? Because either Ethan was not listening to Sam at all, and he just said something randomly off the top of his head that he thought had some relevance to what Sam was talking about, or he's literally justifying the happening in Gaza right now by saying that October 7th was an unprecedented attack in terms of the scale on Israel.
I guess Israelis feel the same way. Like, it was totally unprecedented. You know what happened. So maybe they didn't think that their mission would be as successful as it was on the other hand.
Oh, I have no doubt that they...
Sam saying that people in probably wouldn't have expected it. And then Ethan's like, well, Israelis feel the same way because they didn't expect October 7th to happen. Insane. It's actually crazy that this is his real position. He kind of let it slip there. He's like, oh, well, you're saying that people in find this unprecedented? Well, people in Israel find it unprecedented as well.
Maybe they didn't think that their mission would be as successful as it was on the other hand.
Oh, I have no doubt that they did not think that they would that they would have been able to overrun that. I mean, I think we were told that the technology of Israel's fence, et cetera, was perfect and something we should emulate in this country. I mean, Trump was all talking about that. So I have no doubt that overestimated
overestimated the IDF. Yeah, I got you.
What they would be able to what kind of destruction they would wreak, and they underestimated the violence that Israel would perpetrate on Gaza. I don't know that anyone could have imagined that Israel would have engaged in this level of destruction and immiseration and bombing churches and bombing hospitals and blowing up universities and destroying the infrastructure. I mean, it's almost beyond belief.
So one thing that when I was talking to Hassan, and I'm just going to talk about him.
Cuts him off, bro. Ethan's such a disgusting little gremlin. Sam Seder is literally in the middle of describing what Israel has done to Gaza. Ethan cuts him off to talk about Hassan. Like, you can't make this shit up. And this is the that says we must keep the plight of the Palestinians on the top of our mind always. But as soon as Sam Seder starts talking about the plight of the Palestinians, let me bring it back to Hassan and complain about me being victimized by Hassan. This guy's a loser. He's a loser.
When I asked him, because this is obviously the $1 million question, right?
Doctors Without Borders, by the way, says in January, so this was 3 months ago, 92% of housing units and about 70% of all structures have been destroyed or damaged. Crazy.
By the way, just there's not one public bomb shelter in Gaza.
Bro, this guy has like brain issues. What the is happening? He's like, all right, let me talk about the $1 million question that I asked Hassan. All right, I'm about to ask you. I'm about to give you the $1 million question that I asked Hassan. Pause. Did you know there are no bomb shelters in Gaza? The is wrong with this man? That's so funny.
By the way, just there's not one public bomb shelter in Gaza.
There's not one public bomb shelter in Gaza?
He's flabbergasted.
Okay.
I just think that's interesting.
This is like a surreal moment. This could be like out of a sitcom or something. Like, this could literally be part of like the British Office.
It's pretty up, don't you think?
Do I think it's up?
Bro, I'm laughing, but it's actually like a really sad thing. Like, obviously it's sad that there's no bomb shelters, and it's sad that there needs to be bomb shelters. Like, I don't have a bomb shelter in my neighborhood, but I don't need one. Like, come on, dude. It's up because of Israel, because of the people you're carrying water for, Ethan. What the are you doing?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand the point. Like,
well, I mean,
do you think anything would be standing anymore?
Well, bomb shelters are underground. I mean, they would definitely be a lot safer.
I've seen what happened to tunnels under hospitals.
Your statement is
Sam's like, okay, do you think the infrastructure is still up? 92% of homes are destroyed, and 70% of public infrastructure, or like non-home infrastructure, is destroyed. And also their tunnels have been destroyed. The tunnels underneath Gaza has been destroyed. And Ethan's like, well, it'd be a lot safer. You know, it'd be safer if Israel stopped bombing Gaza, or if they let food and medicine in. That would be safer, Ethan.
Oh, there was. So you say there were tunnels under hospitals?
Israel built the ones under the first one that they went into. They built it when they were occupying Gaza.
Are you and right? That's true of that one. But I mean, they have a vast tunnel network, obviously, as everybody knows. But I don't care. I don't want to get.
Ethan's like, so you're saying that there are tunnels under Gaza? Like, okay, or there are tunnels under hospitals? That's what Ethan just said. Being like, oh, so you agree with me? It's justified that Israel bombs hospitals. The glint in his eye that he wants Sam to agree that Israel should bomb hospitals. He's actually a demon. I mean, Ethan, IDKIF, they have the materials to make bomb shelters. Okay, just this one chat is like, Ethan, I don't know if they can even bring up bomb shelters. Wait, I'm actually confused why he's bringing up bomb shelters. Yeah, me too, bro. Me too. This is hilarious.